I believe that one of the reasons that so few people speak about what's happening in Sudan is because people don't actually know what's going on. So few news outlets accurately or consistently cover the conflict. Let's read this article together to learn more about what's happening, and you can watch other videos on this playlist to see where you can donate to humanitarian aid efforts that are working on the ground to help. This article from Al Jazeera English is called Hell on Earth as Violence Escalates in Sudan's El Fasher. The United Nations Human Rights Chief has expressed horror over the escalating violence in Sudan's northern Darfur region, as top humanitarian officials described the worsening situation on the ground as hell on earth. Hundreds of thousands of displaced people are sheltering in El Fasher without basic supplies amid fears that nearby fighting will turn into an all-out battle for the city, the last stronghold of the Sudanese Armed Forces, SAF, in the western Darfur region. Its capture would be a major boost for the rival Rapid Support Forces, RSF, as regional and international powers try to push the sides to negotiate an end to the 13-month war. People who are currently in El Fasher have said the situation is like hell on earth, where they could lose their lives at any day, Toby Harward, the UN Deputy Humanitarian Coordinator for Sudan, told Al Jazeera. There is an active conflict going on, artillery attacks by the Rapid Support Forces, as well as air bombardments by the Sudanese armed forces that are leading to new displacements, he said on Friday. People are trying to flee to get to safer areas, but are finding them very hard to do. The UN Human Rights Office said at least 58 people have been killed around El Fasher since last week. 58 human lives. Spokesperson Ravina Shamdasani said UN High Commissioner Volker Turk had phone calls this week with an Army Chief General Abdel Fattah al-Burhan and RSF leader Mohammed Hamdan Dagalo, urging them to de-escalate. During a news briefing in Geneva, Shamdasani warned on Friday that both the fighting in El Fasher, where more than 1.8 million residents and internally displaced people are currently encircled and at imminent risk of famine, would have a catastrophic impact on civilians and would deepen intercommunal conflict with disastrous humanitarian consequences. Harward said an estimated 1,000 new refugees cross the border from Darfur every day to neighboring Chad. When they are asked why they are crossing, they said they do not have food to survive if they remain inside of Darfur. If the conflict in Darfur gets worse, we will be seeing another exponential rise of refugees crossing the border into Chad, which already hosts more than 900,000 refugees who fled Sudan. We are trying to engage with all those concerned to help us facilitate our access to all parts of the country, Inkweta Salami said. Time, of course, is a key factor. We are racing against the clock. In Darfur, 18 million people are in a very dire situation in terms of food security. Inkweta Salami said the delivery of food and other supplies needs to happen as fast as we can, but she added, we are facing obstruction on many levels. Meanwhile, Jens Lark, spokesperson for the UN Office for the Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs, OCHA, said that as of Friday, only 12% of the $2.7 billion being sought for Sudan has been raised. It is a catastrophically underfunded appeal, Lark told reporters. In Sudan, half of the population, 25 million people, need humanitarian aid. Famine is closing in. Diseases are closing in. The fighting is closing in on civilians, especially in Darfur. The UN has estimated that more than 15,000 people have been killed across Sudan since the war broke out in April 2023, and more than 8.8 million people have been forced to flee their homes. If you have the means, please donate to Doctors Without Borders, to Save the Children, to UNICEF, and to the International Rescue Committee, or any other organizations that are working to help those affected by this conflict.